So we mounted even the Hofmeister on the C-pillar to make it even longer. Then the next thing is we trying to find some themes which make the look, which make the car look dynamic already while it's standing. So as you can see right now, we have two main lines on the side, and these ones are divided by light and shadow. We use this light and shadow a lot to play with. For us it's a nice thing to get some certain dynamic on it when you see the car, and also to make it already look dynamic while the car is still standing. The other thing which was important, what I said before about the sportiness, we like to have a strong focus on the wheels. So in the front we have some nice muscles towards the wheel, as well in the rear. In the rear we stretched it a little bit more to give it already this, like the main idea was a little bit a sprinter before he starts running, to give this tension. So as you can see right now, this is quite a rough sketch, but this is how we usually start to get the main ideas, the main themes, and then we set it up. In the next step would be, as you can see right now here, we refine it a little bit proportion-wise, detail-wise, but you still can see, I guess, the shark nose in the front, then the fluent window graphic, and also the stretched greenhouse, which tapers in the end a lot. So again, as you can see here, these are our main lines with the surface play in between, which split the car up in different segments so it looks stretched and wider from far away. Again, this is what I draw before roughly. This is the stretched muscle over the rear wheel. And again, on the front we have this highlighting of the wheels. Again, then we add some details, some light graphic. So this would be the next step, to set up a little bit more proper and realistic side view. Then we go, next step we go in 3D views and highlight a little bit more details on the car, and also we trying by rendering it, we trying to describe the surface a little bit more. As you can see on the side, we trying already to illustrate how it looks, how it looks under different circumstances, to animate it a little bit. When we have a look at the front, we have, as you can see, the main idea was presence and more sportiness on the front, and we put the kidneys as low as possible towards the street. The front lights are quite diagonal and looking concentrated towards the wheel, towards the kidney. So the main face for the front, we wanted to have low kidneys and focused eyes towards the kidney. So we want to have a sporty, focused look on the street. This was the main idea for the front. As well, we have, as you can see in the car, also some wide lines here, which work as aerodynamically and also as air intakes. And they also give this certain stance and focus on the wheels, what we like to have on the car. This is at BMW important for us, that the car has a good stance on the wheels, even when it's standing still. On the next picture, again, this is now 3/4 rear view. As you can see, we have our BMW icon as well here, the headlight. And since this car is a little bit more funky, a little bit younger car, we reinterpreted it, but it still should be recognizable as a BMW. So as you can see as well, again, we have this accentures on the wheels, and what we try to manage with the car, what you can see here in the section, we tapered the whole greenhouse a lot in on the car. So this was on the one hand good for aerodynamic reasons, on the other hand we gained a lot of shoulder. I think we managed to have, when you have a look later at the car, a very good stance, and especially for this class. I think this is something we worked quite a lot on. So this would be the ideation for the two-dimensional process. Later then we go over different loops in 3D, virtual and physical modeling, to evolve and refine and work out all the details anymore. And after some certain loops and some time, we finally end up with the final car. I hope when you have a look at the car right now, you still can see the main design ideas behind it and find it back in the car. So thank you very much so far for your listening, and now my colleague Simon will show you a little bit about our interior process. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hi guys, my name is Simon, and yeah, I'm very happy to give you a little tour through the interior of the All New One series, as well as give you a little tour through the design process and how I came up with what you can see here today right now in the interior. Now, as Sebastian mentioned, the new One series is a very young and modern car. In fact, it's the youngest and yeah, most modern car in the entire BMW lineup. But above all, it's a very sporty car. It's supposed to be a real sporty driving machine. So for us, in the beginning of the design process, it's always a question of how do we capture this character in the geometry, in the design of the interior of the car. So every piece and every item in the car should express that character. So at the beginning of the process, of course, we get a little bit of a briefing, and for us quite quickly this image developed of a cockpit, that this interior is supposed to be very much like a cockpit. We were inspired by very machine-like languages, and we always had a little bit this, you know, jet cockpit in mind, and very purpose-built and very focused. So we start in quite a similar way like Sebastian does. So I'll show you a little bit. We're going to start as well with a blank sheet. So the first thing that we have to start with is the proportions. This is basically what gives every item and every piece in the interior its basic shape and form. And in this case, what you can see in the dashboard, it's supposed to be very low and flat, and at the same time it's very stretched in its width and very wide, and that both taken together gives the dashboard a very athletic and slender overall proportions. So these would be just the very rough main proportions of the dashboard. Now, the second thing that we have to deal with is the design features, the themes. This is basically what gives the entire interior its character and its theme. You will find that in all the lines and all the trims that are sort of assembled around you on the main volumes and on the proportions. Now, what you can see here is that all the lines are basically focused around the driver and are sort of centered around his axis in order to guide his view and focus his view and guide it sort of outside on the street forward to where he wants to go. So the design themes are really supporting the sporty driving mode and are really supposed to not at all distract the actual purpose of having this car, which is, you know, sporty driving. Then the third thing that we have to take care of is the details. This is what you can find in all the knobs and buttons and all the little trims and fit and finish. And this is basically what gives the car the quality perception and the look of value. As well, you can see it in the integration of the screens of the user interface in this car. Yeah, so as Sebastian mentioned, obviously these are just very, very quick doodles. We use that usually to communicate our ideas just very quickly, and these are usually very rough. We then go further and refine these ideas and themes and work on the proportions, and especially we make everything match to each other so that we get a harmonic overall image. And what you can see here is that we stuck to that theme of having all the lines and features assembled around the designer, around the driver, and giving him basically this focus and the lead towards him on the street. At the same time, what you can see here is that the screens are very much integrated into these features here and into the accent trims that surround them. So you get a very harmonious and integrated look of the screens instead of just really having a big rectangular black wall right in front of you, which would really maybe a little bit block your dynamic view outside of the car. Yeah, so we then go one step further and we assign materials to the whole themes. So, you know, leather, glass, chrome, these kind of things, because in interior it's always very important to think in materials. We make sure that the color blocking is working. We make sure that all the different materials that you can choose as a customer work in any kind of combination. We also really, like in interior, in exterior, we animate the surfaces, we add some light and shadow, and what you can see here around the driver, this is really the area that's really highlighted and that's really important. And what you can see later in the car is that this whole area is sort of treated with a special texture, so we used any kind of means that we have in order to make this area really special and to make sure that it's really the driver's seat, that's where the magic happens. Obviously we do that with every piece and part in the interior, so for example in the doors what you can see is that all the lines are really following the same dynamic angle and logic. And maybe something that you can really see only on the second view is that all the lines are sort of connected to each other and sort of building one loop, so that all the themes are really, they look like they're really coming out of one hand and one mold, and that they all really speak the same theme language. And then maybe another thing that I want to highlight real quick is the decor in this car. We tried something new here for the 1 Series. We wanted to get away a little bit from that very classic mix of, you know, wood and aluminum trim and chrome and this kind of mix, which is very traditional. And we wanted light to be the decor in this car, to be the special element in the mix of materials. So we wanted to something a little bit more intangible and elusive to be the central element of the decor in this car. So you can find that in the doors as well as the dashboard. Then in the next step what we do is we basically assemble all pieces, because that's as well very important for the entire design of the entire interior, which means we make sure that all the pieces speak the same design language, that all the lines have the same tension and so on, so that when you sit in the car that everything again looks like it's made out of one mold. So you can see that in the seats, in the steering wheel, as well as the dashboard, doors and the center console. And maybe one more thing that I want to highlight here as well is that all the user interface islands, we took all the functional interface areas and we sort of centralized them in different clusters. So we did that in order to achieve an even more clean look of the interior and even more reduced and just really focused on the actual purpose, again, which is driving in this car, sporty driving. Yeah, and then also as Sebastian mentioned, of course we're going into 3D as well. We really have to do that. We're going into real proportions and dimensions by taking the whole theme into a clay model. And that's really important for us because you really have to, again, check all the themes and the proportions and everything in real life in order to you know, get the real image, because sometimes on the screen only it can be a little bit, you can get the wrong impression. So yeah, this is really the last step for us to, again, refine the tension of the lines and the tension of the surfaces, and again check the main proportions, maybe tickle the last bit out of them. And yeah, I'm sure when you drive the car yourselves tomorrow, I'm sure you will discover some of the things yourselves. I only invite you to check it out yourself. So as I said, we have the really slow and slender proportions. We have the themes that are really focused around you and assembled around you, as well as the details that are that really give the interior its whole value look and the whole value perception, and that basically lift the entire interior one level higher.